You think you own me, but you don't. You think you can destroy me. You can't. Your labels do not contain me. Your lies do not intimidate me. I will not be less than what I was created to be, and I will not run in fear. Time and time again, you've held me down, but not today. Today, I win the battle. Today, you run from me. Because I am strong. I am courageous.
Because it could be my fault. Sorry. I didn't know my mute button worked. Okay, so we're ready for Thanksgiving? We're feeling good? All right. I have to start today with an unpopular opinion. You see, I actually prefer Thanksgiving over Christmas. Is there anyone with me? Anyone? That is so many more than I thought, okay? Thank you. All right, hang on. Bring it back in. Before you kick me out of the church, how dare you not choose Jesus' birthday over the holiday where we stole things from land from Indians? Okay, I know. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. Okay, I'm not saying the actual holiday and what they stand for is better. But listen, I think the festivities of Thanksgiving are better than the festivities surrounding Christmas. So hear me out, okay? Because I have a strict rule in my house. No Christmas tree, no Christmas music, no Christmas decorations, nothing till the day after Thanksgiving. Very strict. Oh, thank you. Wow. I saw this going very differently, okay? This is very exciting for me. All right, but now let me explain to you Christmas fanatics why I am the way that I am, okay? So here's my thing. Christmas Day. Football? Yes. Family? Oh, sorry, Thanksgiving. Sorry. Thanksgiving, football. You guys all knew what I was saying. Family and food. That's perfect. That is the dream. Well, what are you talking about? I don't watch football on Christmas. So you have that day, but then the day after Thanksgiving, I think, begins the best season in the entire year. The season between Thanksgiving and Christmas is full of Christmas music and parties. In our house, lots of fudge and lots of hot chocolate, right? It's amazing. But the actual day of Christmas, I think, is a little bit of a letdown, right? Because Christmas ends and you're like, Christmas is a year away now. And now all I have to look forward to is New Year's Eve. And if you're honest, New Year's Eve parties can be really lame. And then it's just January, and we live in Indiana, and January sucks, right? No one likes it. So that is why, if I had to compare Thanksgiving and Christmas, Thanksgiving wins, okay? But bring it back in, because I know that was a lot of feelings. Some of you have more trust for me. Some of you have less. That's okay, but bring it in. All right, because we're talking about something bigger tonight than just comparing holidays. We are talking about how comparison in our life can lead to destruction, and ultimately how we have to make sure to kill it before it kills us. And this whole series, Killing What's Killing You, isn't about earning your salvation, okay? You don't kill these sins in your life in order to make it into heaven. But rather, these things that we're trying to kill are about gaining freedom from things that are trying to hold us back, okay? So that's what we're talking about today. And I think the biggest problem with comparison is it leads to a thing called envy. And I heard the best definition for envy this way. I'm happy with my life until I see something in your life, and now I'm less happy. Has anyone else ever felt that way? I was happy until I saw what you had, and now for some reason, I'm less happy. And we all do it, and we start at a very early age. So I want you to think for a second. You don't have to tell anybody, but just think for a second of the earliest memory you have of comparison. Not the most recent, because you've probably done that in the last half hour that you've walked through these doors, but your earliest memory. Mine was with my brother and sister. So I come from a mixed home, divorced home. So my mom was married. She had my brother and sister. She got divorced. She married my dad. She had me, right? And so every other week, my siblings go to their dad's house and would come back the next. And I always just stayed with my parents. And if you are from a divorced home, you know that I had the better end of the deal here, right? I got to stay with my parents when my siblings left. But as a kid, that did not seem real to me. What I saw was that my brother and sister went to Hawaii with their dad. What I saw is my brother and sister had 2 birthday parties, 2 Christmas parties, 2 Halloweens, double the presents, double the cake. And most importantly, I saw that my sister had a much bigger Barbie doll house than I had at my mom's house, okay? This is what I saw. And I remember telling my sister, well, it's not fair. You got 2 families. You got 2 parties. You got double everything. And my sister is 4 years older than me, and she's known for saying things pretty blunt. She's like, okay, well, we can switch anytime you want because you get a mom and a dad. And I was like, ooh, ouch, right? But what we were both doing is we were looking at the other person's life, and we were comparing. We were saying, well, I was happy until I saw what you have, and now for some reason I'm less happy. And we both failed to look at the good things that our life actually offered us. And we all do this, right? And we do it in everything, right? We compare grades, looks, body shape, relationships, families, faith, social media, vacation, houses, shoes, anything you can compare, we compare with others, right? And I think this has gone on forever, but I think now it's more in our face because of social media. You can compare 24 hours a day. You can be around 0 people, and somehow you're still comparing yourself to them. So you're having a great day. You're feeling good about your life. Boyfriend's great. Friends are great. Sports are great. You get on your phone. You start scrolling. You see a picture from your best friend. Oh, what a cute pic. And you're like, wait, I know him and her. I know all these people. Why am I not in this picture? Why are they having fun without me there? Why was I not invited? I don't know maybe it's just me that happened to, but it's awful, right? So your mood kind of decreases. So you keep scrolling. You see your ex-boyfriend's picture. He's posting some picture with his new girlfriend, all lovey-dovey, things he never said about you. You're like, when did you become picture-perfect boyfriend? When did that happen? Why couldn't you be that way with me? Why are you happy when I'm sitting here eating a pint of ice cream watching rom-coms alone? How's this happening? And you dare to scroll one more time, and you see someone post another picture, and it's the same picture you posted, and you're like, oh, I posted that too. I love that picture. It's so cute. It's like a Polaroid, kind of looking old-fashioned. And you look at it, and then you look down, and you notice they have triple the amount of likes as you. You're like, what the heck? They didn't even make a caption. I spent 2 hours deciding exactly what I was going to say, what emojis I was going to use, and they got more likes than me? Why do they have more friends than me? Why do more people like what they say? Why are they influencing more people? What is happening? And all of a sudden, you find yourself comparing. And you find yourself a lot less happy than you did just a few minutes before that. And we all do it. But the message today isn't stop comparing. Stop it. Knock it off. Stop it. We don't compare. We're done. That's not the message because it's just not possible, right? We can't just stop comparing. We're bound to do it. But here's where the real problem comes in. When we begin to compare to determine our identity, when we allow the comparisons we make to define who we are, that's where we get into trouble. So I'll give you some examples. You can look at someone's life and be like, man, they're in really good shape. They work out. They eat well. I am so inspired by them. I'm going to work out. I'm going to eat better. That can actually be a pretty healthy comparison. If you start to let it affect your identity, that becomes more like, well, I'm fat, they're skinny. I'm ugly, they're beautiful. I have no self-worth because my body, no one will ever want this or like this, right? How about this one, grades? Everyone can do this one. So you got a B on a paper. You're feeling pretty good about it. Hey, look at me, look at me. And someone else gets an A, and you see that, and you're like, you know what? I know I could be working harder. I know that I didn't study hard. I know I don't turn in my assignments. I can do better than this. Again, that's okay. That's a healthy comparison. But what if you start going, well, I'm dumb. I'm useless. I'm never going to get a job. I'm never going to amount to anything. I disappoint everyone in my life. You've allowed those comparisons to affect your identity. That's the problem. Hey, look at me. Can't already get distracted. I haven't gone long enough. 8th grade boys. Woo. Hey. It's good I see you. Look at me. All right. Man, I hope that was my husband because that is weird. That was real weird. All right. Lock it back in. That's going to be hard for me to come back from. All right. I'm going to have to let that one roll off. Woo. I'm red and y'all don't even know it because these lights are bright. All right. Listen up, listen up. All right. I could give you my self-help version of this, all right? You don't have to compare yourself to me because people are whistling at me, all right? Like, I know I look good today, okay? I felt like that was too good. All right. But I could give you my self-help, but instead we're going to look at the Bible. So let's go to the Bible because he can say it better than I can, especially right now, all right? So we're going to talk about two people who were on the inside with Jesus. They were two of his closest disciples, Peter and John. If anyone in the whole Bible should know not to compare themselves to other, it should be these two guys. All right, so let's read together. It's going to all be on the screens, John chapter 20. It says, Peter and the other disciple started out for the tomb. They were both running, but the other disciple outran Peter and reached the tomb first. He stooped in, looked in, saw the linen wrappings lying there, but didn't go in. Then Simon Peter arrived and went inside. Okay, so this first makes me laugh, and you have to know the context. So the book of John is written by John. And John often identifies himself as the other disciple or as the disciple who Jesus loved. So essentially in that passage, John's like, so yeah, we were like running to the tomb to see if Jesus was alive, and I kind of outran Peter, beat him in a foot race. And like then, a long time after I got to the tomb, Peter showed up, right? And you know these kind of people. They're the people that have to make sure you know that they beat you. It's not enough just to beat you, right? They get an A on a paper, you get a B. They're like, great job. A B is so hard in this class. And then they stick that A paper just right side up, right on their desk, and you're like, great, good job. I had this happen in high school. I played basketball. I was decent, but I was not the best player on my team, and I knew that. I knew who I was. I knew my role. But one game I shot really well. I scored like 20 points. And I was feeling good. We won. I was like, hey, I did pretty well tonight. And my teammate, who was for sure a better player than me, came up to me and she was like, hey, great job tonight. Like, did you realize that with your 20 points and with my 25 points, we scored almost all the points for the team? I was like, you had to say it like that? Like, you couldn't just say, like, hey, those 20 points, you scored like half our points. No, you had to say, and just so we're clear, still got those 5 points on you, right? Like, still bitter about it. It's fine. I've let it go. But that's what John's doing. John's going, yeah, I'm writing the manuscript for Jesus' life, death, and resurrection, but I just need to humbly brag. I just need all of eternity to know that I beat Peter in a foot race. So let me just throw that out there, all right? But then we're going to keep going because we get to see more of John and Peter's relationship just a few chapters later, a few verses actually, where Jesus appears to them on the Sea of Galilee. They're out there, they're fishing, they're doing their thing, and this is where we're going to pick up. It says, then the disciple Jesus loved, remember, he's talking about John himself, said to Peter, it's the Lord. And when Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he put on his tunic, for he had stripped for work, and he jumped into the water and headed to shore. The others stayed with the boat and pulled the loaded net to the shore, for they were only about 100 yards from shore. Okay, again, I think John's hilarious here, right? So he puts in here, just so everyone knows, I'm the disciple Jesus loves. Note number one. Number two, I was the one who recognized Jesus first. I told Peter, and then Peter, always so dramatic, he jumps into the water and starts swimming to shore. But guys, we were only like 100 yards away, so I just like rowed the boat in, and we got there at like the same time. Like, I just love it. He just like has to throw it in there. It's like, just want everyone to know I'm better, right? So they get there. Jesus pulls Peter aside, and he starts talking to Peter. He's like, hey, do you love me? Okay, then feed my sheep. Do you love me? Feed my sheep. Do you love me? Feed my sheep. And what Jesus was trying to do is he was trying to get Peter to understand that even though Peter had just failed, Jesus has died just a few chapters before this, and Peter denied that he ever knew him. because he didn't want to die like him. So Jesus is trying to bring Peter in and say, hey, I know you screwed up, you failed, but I'm still going to use you. And then look what Jesus says to him in verse 18. I tell you the truth, when you were young, you were able to do as you liked. You dressed yourself, you went wherever you wanted to go, but when you are old, you will stretch out your hands. Others will dress you and take you where you don't want to go. Jesus said this to let him know by what kind of death he would glorify God. Then Jesus told him, follow me. So Jesus basically just told Peter, hey, you're going to live a really hard end to your life, and you're going to die a really hard death. Womp womp, right? Like, Peter's like, that's not what I wanted to hear. That's not good news. But I want to focus on Peter's response because I think it's really interesting. Peter turned around and he saw behind them the disciple Jesus loved, John, the one who had leaned over to Jesus during supper and asked, Lord, who will betray you? Peter asked Jesus, what about him, Lord? And Jesus replied, if I want him to remain alive until I return, what is that to you? As for you, you follow me. Man, you see this moment, Jesus is talking to Peter. He's having this really important moment, telling him what his life's going to be like. And it's like Peter looked over his shoulder and he sees John. He's like, wait a second. What about him? Like, what about John? Because here's what I know about John. John didn't betray you, and John's faster than me. He made that pretty clear. And he says he's more loved by you than me, and he didn't fail. And Peter begins to compare. And we do that, right? Maybe your family is a disaster. Maybe your parents are in financial trouble. Maybe you've had something happen to you that should not have happened to you. That wasn't your fault. It wasn't fair, but it did. And you see someone, maybe here, maybe in your group, and they just seem like they have the best life. Their parents are awesome. They're close to their siblings. They go on vacation every single break. Nothing bad has ever happened to them. And you're like, God, what about them? Why do they get that life? What about me? Why does my life so much harder? Do you love them more? Do you care more about them? Am I less worthy than them? Why does my life so much harder than that guy's life? And I love Jesus' response, and I think this is for us too. He basically says, what's it matter to you? Why do you care? Don't compare your life to them. I'm going to do what I want with your life, and I'm going to do what I want with their life. It's not up to you. I have two different paths, one for you and one for them, and you can't compare two totally different paths to one another. And the problem is when I try to compare my life to yours or your life to his, then it ultimately leads to destruction. Because what you start to do is one of two things. You're either going to tear down the other person or you're going to tear down yourself. You're going to look at the other person, and you're going to call them names, or you're going to leave them out, or you're not going to want to be friends with them. Or if you're being honest, you're going to wish some less than great things happened, or at least no more good things would happen to them. You're going to tear them down. Or you're going to tear yourself down. You're going to actually believe the lies that you're not worthy, that you're not good enough, that God must not love you as much. And you're going to tear down who you are. And either way, it leads to destruction, and God doesn't call us to that. It says in 1 Thessalonians 5:11, encourage each other, build each other up just as you are already doing. If you're comparing, you can't encourage, you can't build up, you can't celebrate other people, you can't see the good, because all that you can see is that you were happy before and now you're less happy because you see what they have. And that thought, I'm telling you guys, it will destroy you. It will kill you. And it will destroy your relationships with those people. And so as we close up, how do you begin to kill those thoughts of comparison before they can kill you or your relationships or other people? Number one, put them up here, celebrate others. This one's hard. When someone else has dealt a really good hand in life, things are going great. Celebrate them. When everything inside of you says, I don't want to, and you're comparing, my life's worse. Why is my life so much worse than theirs? Send them that text, even if you don't feel it. Hey, I'm really proud of you. Way to go. I'm so glad you got into that school. Hey, way to go. I'm so glad you scored that goal, that touchdown, whatever. Like, I'm so proud of you. Celebrate those people. Cheer them on. Number two, write down the good in your life. Write down the good in your life. It's really easy when we compare to only see the junk in our lives, the crap. That's all we see. My life's not good. That's all I see. But what if you focused on the good things? Because I promise you, there's not a person in this room that does not have a beautiful thing about them, a talented thing about them, a gift God's given them, a victory he's about to in your life. I promise you, you have something. So my dad did a few years ago is he got just opened notes in his phone, and every time something good happened, he wrote it down. Big or small. It could be the smallest thing. I got a text of encouragement. I think he did it the year I got married, so he wrote that down. Makayla got married today. Right? He wrote them all down. So at the end of the year, he went back and he read them. All the good things God had done, the big and the small. It's really hard to compare and be upset about your life when you're reading all the good things that God's done in your life. So write it down. Number 3, take a break from social media. Take a break. One of you guys told me this week, actually 2 of you told me today, you're taking a break from Snapchat. You said, it's addictive. I need a break. Now listen, I'm not saying social media is evil. I'm not saying Snapchat's evil. Okay, that's not what I'm preaching. But I want you to do something. Before you get on social media tonight, check your mood. How you feeling? Feeling pretty good? In a good place? Then check your mood when you get off. Has it changed? Is it worse? If it's worse, you need to take a break because you're probably comparing, right? You don't have to totally get rid of it. Maybe just set parameters on it because listen, every time you open Instagram, every time you open TikTok, you are opening your heart and your mind to comparison that you don't need. So take a break. Last one. Just like Jesus said to Peter, as for you, follow Jesus. As for you, follow Jesus. God created all of us to run a race of life. One of the most famous verses in the Bible, Hebrews 12:1. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up. And let us run with endurance the race God has set before us. It says we're surrounded by Christians and we're not racing them. We're not trying to beat other Christians to the finish line. That's not the goal. We're running next to them. And your job is to stay in your lane. Listen. I'm almost done. You guys got this. Stay in your lane. Keep your eyes on Jesus and run the race he called you to run. Not your friend, not your brother, not your sister, you to run. As for you, follow Jesus. Let's pray. Dear Jesus, we thank you so much for today. We thank you that, even though it's almost impossible not to compare, even though it's our natural, just our posture to go to comparison, to compare to other people, to other things going on, to our dreams, to the seasons of life we wish we were in, that God, you call us not to do that, but to follow you, to just stay focused on the path that you've made for us because you want to use us, which is crazy and it's so awesome. And so God, I pray for every student in this room that as we go to group that we can be vulnerable and real about the ways that we compare and that God, we can hold one another accountable, encourage one another, celebrate and push each other ultimately to find our identity and who we are in you, God. We love you so much. In your name we pray, amen.